Hi, and welcome to Tony's Cool Tools. I really appreciate you being here. Like the title says, size does matter when it comes to pallet forks and using them. The second most favorite tractor attachment after the loader bucket is the pallet forks. I know I keep my pallet forks on my tractor 90% of the time. They're so easy to take on and off that I have no problems doing that, changing from my pallet forks to the bucket to my grapple. About a year ago, I made a review video on both pallet forks and pallet frames. And in the comments, there were a number of questions, and I hope to answer those today. If you buy a new tractor these days, the salesman is going to try to sell you some additional attachment. Naturally, the loader bucket's going to come with it. And in many cases, depending on what size you have, like a 1, 2, or 3 series, you'll have some options on the width of the loader bucket. As well as they're going to ask you if you need anything else like a brush hog, pallet forks, or a grapple. However, if you own or buy a used tractor and want a set of pallet forks, the first thing you do, I know I've done this, is go to Facebook or Craigslist. And if you find an ad like this, I know I did, and that is heavy duty pallet forks, super deal, $300 to $500, somewhere in that general area. And you said, fantastic, guys are always into heavy duty stuff, the bigger the better. However, as I always say when I'm talking about attachments, match the attachment to the size of the tractor. These heavy duty pallet forks may weigh 400 or 500 pounds, and on a 1 series tractor, you're cutting your lifting capacity by a half or even more. So keep that into consideration when you're looking at pallet forks. Let me give you some details on pallet forks as well as pros and cons. Here are the 3 most common sizes of pallet forks out there that you're going to see. First is the 36-inch, the 42, and the 48. And they come in different widths. These 2 right here, the 36 and the 42, come in 3 inches. The 48-inch one here comes in 4 inches. Now the one thing is, these 2 are rated approximately 2,000 pounds of picking up whatever. As far as the 48-inch, depending on which one you get, they can go from 3,000 to 5,000 pounds. And all 3 of these are tapered in the front here from about the front end to about 1/3 of it, making it easy to pick stuff up. Manufacturers have other sizes available, like 5-foot and 6-foot, but the most common one is a slip-on sleeve that goes on here so that you can pick up longer pallets easily. So as I said previously, bigger isn't always better. And what I mean by that is you have to consider the weight of these as well, especially if you're changing them out like I do a lot, because I use my 2-inch receiver here. This happens, all these pallet forks and the frame are manufactured by Artilian. And they're one of the few companies that offers this 2-inch receiver here, which I use a lot for shuttling my tractors all over my property. But these pallet forks here, the 36-inch, weigh in at 112 pounds for the pair. The 42 weigh in at 120, and the 48, 176. So when I'm installing these 48-inch, let me tell you, my back doesn't like it a lot. And as far as lifting stuff with your tractor, the further back to this back plate you get it, the better off you'll be. All the measurements manufacturers test on these are based from this back plate here to 20 to 24 inches. That's where you have your best lifting capacity. The further forward you go, the less you can lift up. Here are the 2 most common locking devices, the button and the lever right here. So when you want to move this pallet fork over, you just flip this up or pull this pin and just shuffle it over. I'll show you that in a moment. If you need to remove your pallet fork, it's super easy. There's a slot that's cut out here at the bottom. And what you do is you unpin it, the locking mechanism here, slide that over to that slot, and then just lift right up. Now this 36-inch is no big problem, but you'll be thinking twice about removing your pallets if you have the 48-inch. And the other thing to mention is the fact of the turning radius on your tractor. The difference between the 36 and the 48 is 12 inches. That's a lot when you're talking tight spaces, like in a tight driveway, your pole barn or your garage. If you're trying to do a 360 in there, you can definitely get a turn quicker with the 36 than with the 48. I know I'm going to catch some flack from some people out there, especially you farmers. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, my granddad did this, and that is drilling a hole or using your acetylene torch to poke a hole right in here so that you can put a pin and a clevis in there or a shackle in here to either lift or pull something. You're putting a lot of stress on this area here, and if you just bought pallet forks, you voided the warranty. So I know I'm guilty of it, and I know many of you are the same way, and that is using your pallet forks to dig. It's definitely not recommended. You're putting so much stress on your loader arms here that you can either bend or break the pallet fork or the loader arms here, or tweak the frame on it. So I highly recommend not doing it anymore. Here's an accessory that you can purchase, and it'll transform your pallet forks into a way of moving your trailers with a 2-inch receiver here. All you do is you slip it on the pallet fork, whether it's the 4-inch or the 3-inch, take the chain here, slide it around your pallet fork frame. Now, as I mentioned before, I have the Artilian, and they have a chain slot built right in here, so I don't have to do anything more. That locks in. But if you don't have one, then you just pass it through here and hook it on to one of the chain links here, and it will not pull off. But the only downside to this is you got to have a lot of room, because you have a lot of room or you have a lot of turning radius that you have to do with this. So be careful. And I punctured my brand new trailer with my pallet fork. I didn't take off one of the pallet forks when I was moving something, and made a very tight turn, and I punctured my trailer frame already. Now, we've been talking about pallet forks for the front of your tractor. They also make pallet forks for the rear of your tractor, 3-point ones like shown here. I have the King Cutter version, and I've only used it a half a dozen times. When I need to move multiple IBC totes, both front and back, long distances, I definitely put it on, and it does save me time. And there's one last style of pallet forks that's out there, and that is called the bolt-on. And what it does is it bolts on the lip of your loader bucket. Now, I know because I've used one, the first tractor that I owned, it came with a set of those. And for the time that I had them, they were okay. But there are 3 problems associated with it. The first one, and the biggest one, is the potential to bend the lip of your loader arm if you're putting in something too heavy. So that's one big thing. The second thing is you can't see anything. They're so far pushed forward, you have to keep getting in and off to try to load anything. And the third thing is you cut your capacity for lifting considerably, because you're moving that point from the front of your tractor here all the way up to maybe 36 or even more inches outward. And as we all know, everything is based on close to the loader arms here. So you do lose a lot of weight capacity or lifting capacity when you're using the bolt-ons. But if you're occasionally just needing a set of pallet forks, they are perfect. And they're very inexpensive, anywhere from $150 to $300. Now, woodhounds love getting free pallets, regardless of what size they are. But I'm going to show you where you can get into some big trouble, especially if you're working close to a building or inside your pole building or garage, like if you have the Home Depot style racking and everything else, how you can have a problem there. So here's the potential problem that you could have when you're using longer pallet forks. The 36-inch on a standard 40 by 48 no problem. The 42-inch, it protrudes a little bit here, but the 48-inch goes way beyond the pallet here. Now this is an empty pallet, and you can see from the driver's seat reasonably well. If you have a full load here or an IBC tote and you can't see anything and you are working real fast and you forget about it, you can easily puncture this. Or if you're working inside your pole barn and you're stacking shelves, like I said, the Home Depot style of racking, you can just punch a hole right through the back of it. So here's some tips on pallet forks. Here's the first one, and that is your loader arms can only go so high. And if you need to get just a little bit higher for whatever reason, for me, it's getting to the top shelf of my Home Depot racking that I have. I need to get just a little bit higher. So what I do is I invert these pallet forks here upside down like you see them here, and I can get a little bit more space out of it. But you got to remember that you got to have somewhere to put this first before you can go higher up. So that's tip number one for you. Tip number two, adjusting your pallet forks in and out. Everyone, including me in the past, would put the frame level. All the weight is on this pallet fork here, and it's pushing down. If you just tip it like I have here, it just slides easily. Tip number three, lubricating your pallet frame. I was spoiled because the Artilian frame comes impregnated with dry graphite already on these two bars, these two sliding bars here. But after years of service, you really need to lubricate it every so often, and I find that this dry graphite lubricant works fantastic. But be careful, because after you spray it, it will slide super easily and you can pinch your fingers. So tip number four comes from Jacob from Twin City Firewood. You should check out his channel. Basically, if you're moving two pallets, this was one of the ways that I did it, as long as it wasn't too bumpy. If it was bumpy, I'd have to take bungee cords and bungee cord these so it wouldn't fall either side or fall into the tractor here. But let me show you a different way of doing it that's a whole lot easier. Tip number five, paint your forks a high-vis color. I do mine in orange. My former best friend, Chris from In the Woodyard, just kidding about that, paints his in pink. He just loves pink, and I think that's because his brothers always dressed him that way. Well, I hope you found this video on pallet forks informative. And I wanted to give a special shout out and thanks to the folks at Artilian for supplying me with the extra tines for this demonstration. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. And remember, pass it forward, make the world a better place. And don't be a tool. Watch Tony's Cool Tools. Until I see you next time, have a great day.